way, yeah. Follow his way, yeah. We got the juice, we got the watts. Ain't no way we fading. They go low and we go high. They play ego limbo on the other side. We keep humble, ain't no honor in your pride. Lying in me, lethal weapon on my side. Praise my God, promise we ain't coming down. Same thing for the crown, same thing for the team. Breaking down any ob, only caring about what God say. Mobbing hard with the tribe, yeah. All the glory to my Yahweh, all the glory to my God, yeah. Praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, they go low and we go high. They play ego limbo on the other side. We keep humble, ain't no honor in your pride. Lying in me, lethal weapon on my side. Praise my God, promise we ain't coming down. Same thing for the crown, same thing for the team. Breaking down any ob, only caring about what God say. Mobbing hard with the tribe, yeah. All the glory to my Yahweh, all the glory to my God, yeah. I did my toe and now I'm fresh, yeah. Shout out to my Abba, yeah. I follow, no regrets, yeah. They ain't learn their lesson, I'm still blessed when disrespected. Father got me eating while they out here looking packaged. Ugh, you just mad I ain't following Twitter D. Looking at me like enemy, only like in vicinity. I'm so high with the energy, yeah. You follow his way, yeah. Follow his way, yeah. Laser light show never fade, no. Ain't no stage chill. We got all night, no switch, we that bright light. On lane, we might take flight. Flight check ain't no right height. We don't fall or lose sight. Follow his way, yeah. Follow his way, yeah. We got the juice, we got the watts. Ain't no way we fading. They go low and we go high. They play ego limbo on the other side. We keep humble, ain't no honor in your pride. Lying in me, lethal weapon on my side. Praise my God, promise we ain't coming down. Same thing for the crown, same thing for the team. Breaking down any ob, only caring about what God say. Mobbing hard with the tribe, yeah. All the glory to my Yahweh.
Peace, peace, peace. What's going on, fam? What's going on? Tuning in, coming in now to bring you the news. If you haven't heard, there was a bomb that went off in Nashville. It was a RV that exploded in the middle of the street. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna look in, because I want to get more information. I want to bring you more information. I want to learn what's going on as it's going on. Right now, we only have some preliminary information on what's going on as far as this Nashville bombing. There are a few videos that have come out. Apparently, I have not seen anything that would say there were many people who were killed in this explosion, which is a good thing. They said there are some people that were hurt due to the explosion itself. There were 41 businesses that were damaged, but that's property damage. But because we're in the time of the coronavirus, this is kind of the worst thing that could happen during this time, especially with having to deal with the dangers of the coronavirus. I'm praying that this is not a foreign terrorist attack. It could be domestic, more along the lines domestic terrorism, but we don't know yet. I mean, it seem as if it was domestic terrorism for an explosion to happen like this, because from the reports that I have read, this was deliberately done. So it was not a mistake. It wasn't like a gas, something just exploded. What they're saying is there was an actual message that was coming from the RV before it exploded, telling people that a bomb was going to explode, and then it exploded. I'm saddened to say this here on Christmas, on the end of Christmas. And that's another reason why when I learned of this information that I brought it to you at the end of Christmas, as to not bring you down at the end of the holidays. But the news is the news, and this is the world that we live in, and no one cares what day it is. That's just the world. So the first thing I want to bring up is the New York Times. Here we have the Nashville explosion was deliberate, authorities say. An explosion linked to a vehicle sent debris and shattered glass into the streets and injured 3 people. So there were only 3 people who were injured. We don't see anything that says anyone passed away. I pray this is just an isolated incident. As of right now, we do not know. But here we have the article, the first article we'll look at. And I'm going to bring this up a little bit larger so we can all look at the actual article as we read it. So we have here, first came the warning, then came the blast, shattering the Christmas morning silence in the heart of the city's tourist district. Before dawn on Friday, Nashville police rushed to calls of gunfire on the 2nd Avenue, a strip of honky-tonks, restaurants, and boot shops. Instead of gunfire, they found an RV blaring and I can't see that, John. My glasses is fogging up on that one. We're going to skip that word. An unsettling message. There was a bomb. It would detonate in 15 minutes. When the RV did explode, it sent plumes of smoke billowing above the city, blew out windows in shops and offices for several blocks, left 3 people hospitalized, and Nashville shaken. Police said the explosion was deliberate. It was also deeply unsettling, coming in an area that draws thousands of people nightly. But who set it off and why remained unknown as officials begin to make sense of the blast. The whole neighborhood shook, said Lily Hansen, who was sitting on her couch in her second-floor apartment in a loft building a few blocks away. She looked outside. I can't get the image out of my head. So this is coming from the New York Times. There are a couple of other, and I got to clear these things off because they are dusty. But there are a couple of other articles we can go ahead and look at. But right now, the fact that this is even happening is unsettling. The day it was chosen, the fact that they chose where they chose, is very unsettling. The fact that no one even knows who set it off. And the fact that there was even a message pre-recorded. So this was very intentional. This was very deliberate. I think whoever did this set this off knowing what they were trying to do, what they were trying to accomplish. And right now, as Americans, I don't feel as if this is a great time to have certain situations like this happening, because it can create mass hysteria, especially when we're still dealing with a global pandemic. I myself have been affected by the global pandemic. We've had about 2 scares for the coronavirus here in my home, where I've had to go out and work, and I've been in the presence of people who were infected by the coronavirus, and I find out later. But luckily, I have not. Praise God, I have not actually myself gotten the coronavirus. But again, in this time, when things like this happen, it makes you think of what type of time we are on currently as Americans. And knowing that people are still having these types of thoughts because we haven't had a mass shooting or anything since the coronavirus itself has happened. We haven't. So this is kind of something that's breaking the, I guess, breaking the mold for something that to happen of this type to happen in America. Um, but we have to keep vigilant even in these times. We always have to be the watchers on the tower. So the next one, so again, people don't change regardless of the time that we're on in. They don't change. They don't. Things can get better as far as the coronavirus goes, but as far as it remains um, as we're dealing with people and the fact that people are losing their jobs. There are a lot of robberies happening nowadays, but there are people who are going to become, the more desperate that they become, the more violent they will become. They will become in the future. So that is just something that is we have to be aware of in the long term if this becomes a long term thing because we just because you lock people in their homes doesn't mean that the world becomes a utopia. There's just a breaking point where some people start to be able to act out during these times. Because again, we can't say this was just some accident. It was very deliberate. It was very deliberate. This is what the article, this is what everyone is saying. It was very deliberate what happened. So they were meaning to cause some type of harm. Even if they did not cause the amount of harm that they did, they wanted to cause some type of harm. And doing this on this day is it's just I don't know, it's unsettling. So right now here's the news from CNN. We're gonna look at this.
Intentional. We just received this new video, and you can see here an explosion in downtown Nashville this morning that police are calling intentional. We just received this new video, and you can see here the blast caused extensive damage to businesses downtown. This video shot as multiple fires burned, and emergency crews were rushing to the scene. Police are saying a vehicle was involved in the incident, and they're saying, once again, this was an intentional explosion. Do you find anything out about how the three victims are doing, and are there more that you've learned about?
No, so far we have just the three that the fire department in their press conference talked about, and miraculously, really, just when you think about, when you look at the extent of this damage, that none of them suffered any serious injuries. One of the things about this area is that it's mostly an entertainment area, right? So you have businesses, restaurants, bars, those kinds of establishments there, which probably obviously were empty. This happened just as the sun was rising there in downtown Nashville. There are some residential buildings nearby, and those were some of the people that were in those buildings. Those are some of the people that were taken to the hospital, but their injuries are not believed to be serious. So right now, obviously for the FBI and for the ATF, which is now on scene there, as Peter was talking about, I mean, the key thing is going to be who put this RV there, because by all accounts now we have from the police saying that this was intentional. Someone parked this RV, someone called the police and said this RV was there. There was something suspicious about it. Think about this. This is just after 6 a.m. when they get this call. It's not like people are out on the street walking around. So it could be that the person who placed the RV there called the police to try and lure them in. But it's within a short period of time from police arriving there that this explodes and causes such extensive damage for blocks. People felt this some 9 blocks away. People were able to feel the impact of this explosion. So that is something that the police and probably the federal agencies there are going to take over this investigation. Because right now, certainly with the idea that this was an intentional act, a bomb, it would seem at this point, with such massive force exploded in that area, is going to bring in a lot of federal officials, certainly the FBI and the ATF.
So again, we have here as he again as he was telling us that this was very intentional. It's very intentional. So make no mistake about it. Whoever did this meant to do this. Now I will say, as we close out on this one, as we develop, as the information develops and it comes out, I'll be continuously reporting on it. But again, the the graciousness of it is we can thank God that no one was hurt, uh, has any life threatening, from what we know from the information, no one has any life threatening issue, any life threatening um, harm to themselves. So praise God for that. Just thank God for that. Um, but again, we have to be vigilant, and thank God that someone was vigilant from what they were saying. I guess someone, either the person who set the bomb there or somebody who saw the RV there, actually uh, called in the the fact that this RV was sitting there. Um, but just praise God that nobody was really hurt. Because if this isn't, being that this is intentional, it's literally terrorism, a form of terrorism. Now, whether we know that this is someone of a foreign country planning this bomb, or it's a domestic terrorism type of situation, we don't know those facts yet, and I won't even put it out there like we know already, because we don't. And if anybody is telling you this is that type of foreign terrorism and Taliban, don't listen to that, because that's not the information anybody has right now. This has just happened this morning. I'm in Virginia, so we're in the same time code. We're in the same we're in the same time code. So again, we have to stay vigilant, people. Stay vigilant. Um, love your people who are around you, um, and just remember that though we have to stay protected at all times. That means in the physical realm also. These are some very trying times. There are going to be a lot of people who are going to try to bolster the fear of us as Americans so that they can be able to create mass hysteria. Um, and we can't have that. No matter who's what we feel about politics or how we feel about each other, as far as our interpersonal relationships, we can't sit here and think that it's okay for someone to create fear in this manner and have everyone crazy. Our country is not this. Our country is very strong, and we should be fighting to keep this strength that we have. That we don't just go crazy over the smallest things. Now I know coronavirus caught everyone off guard, and there was mass hysteria, but not to the point where people are just rampaging in the streets, which I doubt that's going to happen. I think more or less people are going to cower to their homes. But again, stay prayed up, stay protected mentally, physically, um, and just, you know, live life. Don't let the fear consume you, because this literally can create fear amongst many people, even though no one was truly harmed, and no one was killed. I should say, I'm not going to say harmed. No one was killed. Even though no one was killed, just the notion that there's a bomber who is unidentified, just that notion can cause people to have fear. This is why I had a couple of videos of um, people who have had surveillance tapes of what happened while it was. You don't need to see that. Protect your eyes and your mind and guard your heart. We are very strong people. And with God with us, we can stay protected, even through death. So that's my little spill for the night. I had to bring this up. I wanted to talk about it because it came up, and the fact that it was Christmas, it just kind of made me feel a little bad. So we're gonna close this one out. Love you guys. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love God with all your heart. Peace.
Praise God. Praise God. Praise God. Praise God. Praise God. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, they go low